Good afternoon and welcome to another of Tim's Tech Talk videos here at Venom Motorsports Canada. Today we're doing the Expose series on the Venom 125 Viper ATV. Now as you can see, this guy's looking a little bit dirty now, but that's because we've been outside playing with it in the mud, giving it a test run. Just an amazing ATV, nothing but fun. So when you look at this ATV, beginning from the left side, moving to the right, we're going to go down and have a look firstly at the tires. Now typically these tires will come to you pressurized at about 20 to 25 pounds per square inch, and that is just to ensure that the tire is properly seated during transportation. Once you're driving it, typically 10 to 12 pounds per square inch gauge is perfectly fine. As you're going to go ahead and do your own PDI and assembly when you receive this, you want to make sure that all the fasteners and fittings on this ATV are nice and snug before you take it out for your first run. And then I typically recommend you have a look at it about once a month to make sure that everything's still nice and tight, because of course you're going to go outside, play in the bush, you're driving through mud, and you want to make sure again everything is nice and tight mechanically. On the left side of the bike we have the on-off fuel petcock. You want to make sure that you're in the on position so you can easily start. And other things that we want to point out while we're here is, if you have a look, you'll see you have the gear shift mechanism right here. If you click down once, you're going forward. Click up, you're back in neutral. To go in reverse, simply press back. It's that simple. So forward, click down, neutral, click once up, reverse, click back. And whenever you're shifting gears, I always recommend that you squeeze in on the front brake, just so you don't take off unexpectedly. Squeeze in on the front brake, click down, and you're ready to go. This bike has a neutral indicator as well as reverse. So when you're neutral, the neutral light will light up. When you reverse, reverse light will light up. And we're going to show you that in a couple of minutes when we start this baby up. Your fuel tank right up top. And again, note the beautiful vent mechanism that you're given. And you want to make sure that you've got this cap secure. This is your air vent, never plug that up. If this becomes obstructed or kinked in some way, you're not going to allow atmospheric pressure to flow into the tank, and you're going to have fueling problems and the bike will stall. So you want to make sure that you've got positive airflow into the tank at all times. On the left hand side we have the motor kill switch. Now the motor is killed effectively. Now the motor is going to run. Always make sure that this is indeed depressed, otherwise the bike will not start for you. Lighting, and of course, start switch. Again, going down into the engine casing, fuel on off, carburetor, and choke lever. Now on this bike, when the choke is all the way down, the choke is 100% off. And this would be the position when the bike's nice and warm. If the bike's cold, or if you're driving it in the winter months, you're going to have to have the choke all the way up to get it started, and then if we're out driving in 40 below weather, just move the choke down to about halfway and you'll be fine. But nice hot sunny summer day here in Ottawa, the choke will be able to be moved all the way down, which is a no choke position, and that's normal. If you ride your bike with the choke all the way up, beautiful sunny day like this, you're going to begin to foul the spark plug, and eventually you'll have to replace it. It'll just be too badly fouled with carbon deposits. Today I'm going to leave it at about half choke when I first started up as part of our demo. Here at the bottom of the carburetor bowl, you'll notice that there's a fuel overflow. You're going to only see fuel flowing out of this if the carburetor float has got stuck in the open position. Otherwise, you should see no fuel coming out of there. In terms of doing an oil change on this bike, if we come around and have a look at the right side of the bike, you'll notice that you can check your oil level right here via this dipstick. And this bike is going to take 0.8 liters. And the manufacturer recommends 15 W40. 10 W40 is also fine. And I recommend either ATV oil or get yourself motorcycle oil, because the same oil that lubricates the engine also lubricates the gear and the drivetrain. So it's better to use a good quality motorcycle oil. And again, I prefer AMSOIL, and synthetic is always best. So with this bike, manufacturer says 15W40, 10W40 is also fine. In terms of break-in, the manufacturer of this bike will tell you to initially break the bike in for 300 kilometers, which is roughly about 5 hours worth of driving, change the oil, and then change the oil about every 1,000 miles thereafter. So that gives you a spec on your oil change. Of course, all of these mechanical parts will need lubrication. You can use, again, either a blasted WD-40 or a white silicone oil, as required. Moving forward, you can see the spark plug boot right here. And the spark plug, you always want to make sure that it's nice and snug. And again, as time goes by, when it's time to replace that spark plug, replace it with a good quality NKG spark plug. My personal favorite. And you'll not have any problems with spark. Other things to be aware of, your rear brake right here, and the front brake is triggered here by hand. You must squeeze the front handbrake in order to get the bike to start. If you do not have any braking mechanism engaged, the bike will not start for you. When we talk about operation, manufacturer recommends that you should be over the age of 16 in order to drive this vehicle. And we also want to make you aware of the maximum weight capacity, 22 pounds on the rear rack. And this is because we don't want you to sit passengers back here. That's not safe. Never ride as a passenger, so you again, please don't take that chance. We want you to be safe, and don't load up the excessive store rack here with a lot of weight. You want to be very careful for that. Tire pressures are listed as front 11 and rear 11. Maximum weight capacity 143 pounds load per tire. Other warnings that are listed here for you are: use the bike appropriately, don't drive this out on public roads, don't carry passengers, and of course, never use drugs or alcohol when operating this vehicle. My personal favorite, always use approved and proper helmet and protective gear, again, for your own safety. As you prepare to take this for a drive, again, in order to start it, you simply turn the ignition key to the on position, and we always want to make sure that we're in neutral. Not reverse, not forward, but neutral. If the vehicle was indeed in gear, I'll just click it down for you. So now the vehicle is in gear, it will not start, and you'll notice that the neutral light went out. Using the selector, I kick it up once, I'm back in neutral, I'm ready to go. As long as I'm squeezing in on the braking mechanism, the vehicle will roll over. Hit the start key, and of course it starts right up. Now, you'll notice on this particular example, I didn't use the front brake, but I used the rear brake. So either or will allow the engine to engage and start up properly. So right now we are in neutral, and always hit the brake first, then shift your gear. I've now put the bike in reverse, and now we can go backwards. Oh, sorry, I didn't engage it in gear. One moment. I'm still in neutral. And you'll see we have lots of start, take-off torque here, and we got to be a little bit careful. So when you're backing up, of course, always ensure that you're not going to drive into something. To get us back to neutral, click down once. Neutral light is back on. We're back in neutral position. Again, we're going to go into forward gear now. Always hit the brake first, make sure you're not going to go anywhere. Click down, and we're now in forward gear, going forward. And you'll notice we have a nice rate of takeoff. If we over-choke this bike, and I can't stress this enough, now we're going to give the bike full choke when it's warm. The bike will stall and or the performance will be extremely poor. So right now the bike is pretty warm. You want to make sure that you have minimal choke, better yet, no choke at all, because the bike is nice and warm. Put the bike back into neutral, start up again. So right now I just changed the choke lever, and you'll notice that the choke is pretty much all the way down, which would be a normal position when the bike is nice and warm. And you'll notice that the idle speed on the bike is pretty much at the factory setting. Sometimes when the bike is brand new, you might want to speed the idle up just a tad to help it break in, and then over time, bring the idle speed back to normal. When it comes to doing maintenance on the bike, we'll just shut it off. When you're performing an oil change, all you have to do is remove the lower plug at the base of the motor, drain the oil out, and then refill here through this filling port. Again, 0.8 liters, and your oil will be completely full. Now this bike has been running just about 6 hours, so it is now due for an oil change, and you can see the discoloration of the oil. And this is after about 5-6 hours of riding. So now it's ready for its first oil change. So I hope you have as much fun with this ATV as we've had. These are just fantastic vehicles. Enjoy the ride, my friends, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.